do have a blue screen over here where you can shoot a program, or most of the stuff that gets shot is like one person just doing a little monologue, and then you can key out the background and replace it with a picture or video or whatever you want. For a talking head show, a lot of the shows that we do simply have these black curtains hanging in the background. The advantage of the black curtains is that they absorb a lot of the sound. So right now, this sound is pretty echoey, and you'll be listening to echoey sound. If you put the curtains up, you get a lot less echo. It's a better studio. And we will need to abate the noise even further, because remember, this is about making a better program. You can come in this room, you can set the camera up, and you can live with the echo. Or you can do things that reduce the echo. And again, once again, there are some producers who do that kind of stuff. It doesn't take much effort. We have some office dividers that if you put them out, breaks up the echo a little bit. We have a piece of carpet, if you put it down, reduces the echo. And then of course, here. Once you've got the curtains up, the carpet down, and the dividers out, your sound is pretty good. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is to set up lights. Now in the studio we have this ladder thing, and in order to move it around, there's this piece you press down here, which will free it so it will roll. And then you bring it over here, and I'm going to move these lights. They're set up right there to illuminate the wall. But we're going to set them so that they're in the corner over there. Now, they're floodlights, and so it's not that critical how you aim them. They can be aimed off a little bit. You want to get them reasonably close, but they don't have to be perfect. Okay? So there are adjusters right here. I can loosen this and then tilt the light and then tighten it down. I have an adjuster here that I can loosen, rotate the light, and then tighten it down. If you tighten things so tight that you break them, okay, that's not, that's stupid. Okay? Don't be stupid. We want the equipment to survive, and if you over-tighten them, you're going to break stuff. Don't crank it down. Okay? All you got to do is just finger tight, it'll hold it. Okay? But here we get into the thing. Don't try to turn the light without loosening the adjuster. Don't try to tilt the light without loosening the adjuster. Now, sometimes you're going to come here and you're going to find that these adjusters are so tight because somebody's forced the light without using the adjuster. So here, we can loosen this one again, tilt it, okay, and then aim it sort of towards the corner. And that's all we need to do there. The lighting grid is numbered, and it corresponds. We'll turn them on in a minute, but there's a lighting panel that the numbers of these drops, where the lights are connected to, correspond to the breakers on the panel. If they're really tight, what you can do is think about the way if you tighten the knob, if what you do is you push it in the opposite direction so it will be loosening against the knob. If it's really tight, you can get it loose. Because you will come in, and there will be cases where these things are jammed on hard. So you may have to do that. In other words, use the light itself to loosen it up. But don't force it harder in the wrong direction. Now, so again, and then just into the corner, and we're good to go. Same thing here, loosen it up, tilt it, and let's see, okay. Now, we do have these scissor lights, and what we'll do is this one is connected to, looks like number 6, so we're going to turn it on, and I'm going to show you how to use this one. floodlights, okay, like up here, these are just floodlights. Not much of an adjustment that you can do with them. However, the lights right along up in here, and that one over there, have lenses, and you can focus them. They have lenses and barn doors. Let me turn number 6 on. And, okay, so now I can, of course, move it around, okay, and I do have a tilt adjustment here. I can move it up and down, same as with the other ones. But I also have this focus, so I can focus the light in, or I can make it lighter. Okay? And there are barn doors on here, so I can bend this in and reduce the amount of light that I'm getting. I can tailor the light, okay, using the barn doors. These lights will also take what are called, you can put neutral density filters, you can put gels, you can put what are called scrims to reduce the light. We can, tailor the light with the barn doors or in other manners. But the one last thing is this bar right here. When you press on this bar here, okay, it drops the ladder and locks it in place so that you can't, it doesn't move. Be careful not to roll it into these 2 scissor drop lights. I like this thing. So there's a list. Let's see, 1 and 2 we don't want. So now I'm going to have to remember. So we're going to want 7, 12, 17 and 18, 22 and 23, and then 25 is a light up at the top, okay? So yeah, if you turn it up there to that light at the top, I'm going to turn it on. Now, when you turn that on, what that does is it puts a little extra light on the head and shoulders of your people, and so it tends to pop them out of the background just a little bit. So having that one on is a good thing for this kind of interview show. Let's turn off the rest of it, and I guess we need 8, 9, 10, and 5. So what is it? 8, 9, and 10, and I believe it was 5. Yeah. Okay. So now we have our set lit. Okay. We've got the floodlights that came out. They're pretty bright. Floodlights from that side, and then 4 more lights that we had here. So there's a total of 10, 11 lights with this one on here. Now, you do the lights first, because if you put your stage out here and you put your cameras out here, you can't roll the ladder around. So lights get done first. Then you set up your area, then you drag out the cameras. And so I guess at this point I'll start dragging out the cameras. But the first thing we got is a floor monitor, which we can roll out. And I will usually put this in the center. Now, the reason you need it, there's 2 things. First, there's a timer built into it. And second is, if you have any slides or video that you're mixing into your program, you want the people who are there to be able to see it, so they'll be able to talk intelligently about what's on the screen. So, the reason that this stuff is wrapped in a figure-8 pattern is that if you just keep twisting, wrapping it around in a circular pattern, is you're going to put a twist in the wire every time you go around. But if you do figure-8, what you do is you put a twist in one direction, and then you come back and you do a twist in the other direction, which cancels it out. So when you put the cameras back, we want them in a figure-8 configuration. Okay. the game with wires is you generally want to try to avoid crossing your wires. And there's going to be a little problem with this monitor and doing that. But in general, you want to get your wires so they're lying on the ground, not crossed. Because if you have a pile of wires and people walk around, it makes it easier for them to trip on the wires. There are microphone cables hanging on racks in here, which you will need. And then you want to close the door, because if you don't, any discussion in the control room will filter out into your set. You'll actually be able to hear it on the back of the microphone. So closing the door improves your sound quality. We'll set this up in order to adjust the cameras. So just pop this right here. Now, if we tilt this up, you're going to get glare off the lights into the cameras. You want to tilt it down a little bit. Put it on a chair and just tilt it so you won't get any direct glare. So, okay, so we got our cameras on. And it's now time to turn on the cameras. So, why don't you scoop over here, and we'll do this from here. Okay. Now this camera has a teleprompter built onto it. And so we open up the little side door, or the LED to look at it. You press the green button in. Don't force it. That's a gorilla move. Okay, gorilla moron move. Okay, press the little green button, turn it to the camera position. There is a, you can probably see it on this one here. There's a lens cap that's just a little switch right here, built into the camera. You push it up, okay, and it's a little harder to see on this one. And so we push this up. So it's up. And then the final, so there's four things you have to do. You turn the camera on, you open this, you open the lens cover, and you press this little button. Again, don't force it, okay? One of these has actually been broken in because somebody pressed it real hard. You know why? I don't know. But they did. Okay. So, now, we basically have a focusing screen. We'll need the little screen at the beginning in order to set things up, but then after that, we won't need it. So, I generally, when we set stuff up, there are risers over here that are, so you can set rows of people, okay? If you use the risers and you put chairs on them, use these chairs. Okay? The reason we use these chairs for the risers is that they have this on them. Okay? So that if somebody slides their back off the back of the riser, it's going to be a little bit harder for them to fall off than it would be with a regular chair that doesn't have that board. Okay? And yes, we have had people fall off the back of the risers. Okay? So again, the comparison of the two chairs. Okay? This, if it's sitting, if you take the back leg off the back of the riser, over they go, and somebody's going to get hurt. So don't do it. That's another gorilla moron problem. Okay? So when you use the risers, use these chairs. You can use them when you don't, except that these chairs will allow you to get your people closer together on your set, which is a good thing for a master shot, which is both of the people on the set. Okay, if you use these, the world won't end, but if you use these, you'll get your people closer together. Okay. Okay, so adjusting the cameras. Now this one right here does not have a tilt. And I've been looking at, it's on my long list of things to do, looking at putting a tilt on this thing. But I have to change the counterbalancing system, and I have to do some other stuff, and eventually someday I will get to it. But at this point, in order to raise and lower it, and that's probably about good head height for somebody sitting there. So on here, there's a safety that needs to be tightened up, which unfortunately was not tightened here, okay? So then what you do is to let it go down, you press this button. But if you press the button without having your hand on the crank, down it comes. And you will damage, you will either pinch your finger in here and hurt yourself, or you will damage the equipment, okay? Hand on here, press the button, then you can lower it. Okay, it's fairly heavy, and when it gets to, when the picture is roughly in the center, which it is right about now, we're good, okay? So from here we can come in all the way, and actually we want to be right about here so that we've got most of the color chart in. Now there is a histogram on here. Actually, why don't you move the camera so we'll do this one. Okay, there's a little histogram over here. Okay, now what this is showing is that the camera in its automatic default position, okay, and again, let me just emphasize one more time. When you're done and you found it, tighten this knob because it's protection. If somebody hits that, down it goes. Not good. Okay? So, we have this little histogram, and that will give you the exposure. Now, the cameras are designed to be a couple of f-stops underexposed. Why? Okay, out in the world, if you're moving your camera around doing news and the like, if you go from light to dark, that's less annoying than going from dark to light. In other words, if the camera saturates, goes to white, and then comes back in, that's much more annoying, and so the cameras are designed to be underexposed. So what we're going to want to do is to get this little histogram right in the middle, because that's, on the left-hand side is black, on the right-hand side is white. So we don't actually have, we're not using the full range of the, of the camera sensor. But we want to get it into the middle. Now, the thing is that to do that, the first thing you check on here is it says 0 dB, that's the extra gain. If you're in low light situations, there's an amplifier that you can put on here that will boost the signal, but it adds noise. So you want it at 0 dB, which is no boost. Okay? You want it at a 60th of a second, which gives you a little bit of motion blur as people move around. It looks a little nicer. So the thing is that once you're at 0 and 60, and this lighting should just about put you there, you're good to go. If not, you can either, if the gain has a number besides 0, you can press the gain button and then use this little wheel to move it up and down. Okay? So until you get to 0, and then press the gain again. If the shutter speed, the 60th of a second, is not there, you can press the shutter thing and move it up and down until you get what you want. Okay? And then press it. If there's 0 and 60, you're done. Okay? Then you can, there's a button on the side that says exposure iris. You press that, and it changes the A right here to an E. Okay? From automatic to exposure setting. Once you've done that, there's a little thumb wheel on the camera right where my finger is right now, and we can proceed to move it so that the histogram, we put the, there's things that are dark, there's things that are light. The light stuff is on the left-hand side, the dark on the right-hand side, rather, the dark is on the left-hand side. And what we can do is to get that to be in the center of the histogram. Same amount of dead area on either side. Once we've got that, we've got the camera reasonably well exposed, so it can tolerate a little bit lighter light without saturating and a little bit darker dark. Good to go. Okay, we need to do that with each of the cameras, and if we adjust this so that the histogram is in the center, then the cameras will match reasonably well when we switch from camera to camera. Now there's one more thing that you have to consider. Okay, sometimes people play with the white balance. Okay, these are all tungsten lights, and at some future point, if we do LED lighting, we may have to change this. But right now, if these colors were not natural, now they look pretty good compared to the chart. Okay, but if they weren't, you most likely would have a white balance problem. There's a button right here where my thumb is. I press this. I can then move through two presets, A and B, okay, and then I can go to sunlight. Notice how the colors just changed, okay, or I can go to tungsten. So now your presets, I go through the cameras periodically and I set the presets to tungsten. People come in afterwards, they go in and they change them. I don't know why, okay, but they do. All of these lights are temperature corrected for 3200 degrees, okay, but they do it anyway. So from here you want the tungsten, if it's not right, you can set it to the tungsten setting and just leave it there, okay? And if they're all set to tungsten, you're going to be good. Okay, so let's do the next one, and I'll do this again. We'll go through it 4 times and for each of the cameras. Okay, so again, step number 1, press the little green button, turn it to the camera position. Press this button here, this is the one that's been pushed in. Pull the lens cap up and bring it there. Now, this is this thing that I talked about, the lock. See, now I've got that, I just tightened it a little bit and it's locked, okay? If what I did was I tightened it and I forced it, you damage it, okay? That one there is damaged, okay? But this, we can loosen and adjust it and then tighten just a little bit. We can rotate it and then tighten it, okay? See, finger tight, doesn't have to be cranked down. You crank it down, you're going to break it, okay? So loosen it up, okay? Put your thing in the middle, zoom all the way in. That's this ring right here, the outer ring, okay? Now we can come to here and, okay, so we've got it set where we want it. One thing I neglected to do on this other camera is to change the cameras out of automatic focus. Because when the cameras turn on, they come in automatic white balance, automatic exposure, automatic focus. If what happens is somebody who's sitting there leans forward and comes back, the camera's going to say, oh, well, the focus changed, so it's going to go out of focus and come back in, and it's going to seek the focus. If you turn the automatic focus off, it won't do that. And the way you do that is right here. There's a little focus button, and when you press it, a little hand will appear on the screen. So we press this once, and we get the little hand, and now if we zoom in, you zoom all the way in to focus it. Notice how I've just unfocused it completely. Okay, and now I can go through focus. I'm on manual focus and it'll stay put, and I can go all the way the other way. The game here, you see this line up here? I want to get that as sharply focused as I can. Now, when you're dealing with people, you can look for whiskers, hair, eyebrows, freckles, zits, you know, whatever, and focus in on that stuff, and that will get it focused. And then you zoom back out. If you focus while you're zoomed all the way in, the lens will stay in focus as you zoom back out. Okay? So we've got this here. Now this one here is set at 90 for the shutter speed, so we'll have to take the shutter speed and force it down to 60, and then from there, when we have 0 and 60, we can press the exposure button and then use this thumb wheel to take ourselves right into the center. So now we've got, you know, roughly the same amount of space on either side of the histogram. This camera is properly adjusted. Let me set the focus over here. Okay, just have to press the little button, and we're good to go. So that's camera number 2 we got balanced. Doesn't take long. So are we ready? Okay, so setting up the third camera, we have the button with the green little safety thing on it. Turn it to camera. Open this. Open your lens cap, which wasn't done on this camera. Okay, and then we can press the little focus button right here. Okay, to get to manual focus. And come on, you can do it. This will come up eventually. There we go. Okay, so now this one we can loosen a little bit and zoom all the way in, focus this baby, and then zoom all the way out. Okay, so somewhere around there is good, and you notice the histogram is low. So here we have 0 dB and a shutter speed of 100, so we have to hit shutter speed and take it down. There we go to 60. Then we hit the little exposure button right here, okay, which puts it to an E, and then we use this thumb wheel to move the histogram, okay, so that it's centered. Somewhere right about there is probably good. Okay, and now it's properly exposed. Now again, the colors look okay. If we wanted to check the white balance, we can do that and go through the thumb wheel to the A, B setting, to outdoors, and to indoor. Okay? And you just leave it. You can leave it on indoor, the tungsten light bulb setting, and it will be correct. Okay, so camera number 4. So again, loosen it up a little bit, and somebody's cranked that down. Okay, so loosen it up. We can open the shutter here, press the little green button, open this, press here, and we can pop it into manual focus. And eventually it'll come around and we'll be ready to go. So this, somebody's got locked, which it doesn't need to be. Okay, and now we can zoom in and focus this, which is the other ring. The zoom is the narrow ring, the focus is the wide ring on the lens. Okay, and now we're at 0 and 90, so we hit the shutter speed button on here. Use the little thumb wheel to bring us down to 60 again. Then hit the exposure button, because we're at 0 at 60, and then take our wheel up. Actually, if we zoom out a little bit, we'll get a little more solid histogram. Okay, and just put it in the middle so that you have a white and a dark, and they're roughly in the middle. So, we've got all 4 cameras set up. The next thing we need to do is to deal with some microphones.